Newcastle versus Liverpool. Newcastle last season, she didn't say they pulled the rabbit out of the hat. They almost gave us a bit of surprise with their performance. And we look at Liverpool too last season, they were up and down. But this season, the first two matches, they didn't really show some glimpses of title contenders the past 2, 3 seasons. But last match was a bit of performance. Newcastle, first match, they obliterated their team 6. Second match, of course, it was against City, but they came the losing side, losing 1-0. This season, the two of them are meeting. What do you make of this clash?
Well, Newcastle were one of the teams that actually gave everybody a surprise in the course of last season. And you look at the manner in which they did it. It's not just about qualifying for the Champions League. It's the manner. Eddie Howe has been touted in high places for how he's been able to spend within his means. Let's not forget that in the context of the conversation, Newcastle are one of the richest clubs in the world. They could virtually go out there and get any player they so wish. But Eddie Howe, we've had conversations about him. He's gone about his job very well. He has spent very well. He's bought players to fit a particular type of football Newcastle want to play. And I think that he was one of the pleasant surprises last season. You look at Newcastle, their running, and some of the results that they had to chalk. I think that Newcastle have pushed beyond their weight. They pushed beyond their weight last season. They've spent big. I mean, they've bought very good players. I think that if you look at the recruits that Newcastle have been able to do this time around, I mean, getting somebody like Tonali was a master stroke. And but you consider the games against Liverpool. In the last 4 games against Liverpool, Newcastle have lost all of them.
Yeah.
All of the last 4 fixtures. So if you want to translate it back to the season just gone by and the 2 seasons just gone by, Newcastle have lost back to back to Liverpool. And so traditionally, people have always said that there's a way you envelope in history to every other prediction that you want to make. But I think that on the basis of form, on the basis of trend analysis, Newcastle, yes, they look a very solid unit, but they look like a team whose boogie side has to be Liverpool. Liverpool always find a way to win when Newcastle are concerned. But I think that the dynamics of this weekend's game will play out differently. One, because Liverpool are a team at this material time very much in transition. They are a team that are being remolded. They are a team that wants to get to those heights that they attained some few seasons ago when they had to win the Champions League, when they had to win the league, when they had to win almost every domestic trophy available. So Liverpool are subtly rebuilding. So they are not at those heights that we all think they are. Newcastle, yes, I don't know whether to call it a rebuild or they are still a work in progress, because you look at Newcastle, you look at some of the pieces that have been put together by the coaching team and the technical staff. Those are very, very interesting pieces that are being put together. So there are 2 teams that are not at the level that they all wish to be at this material time. But going into the game, I think that if there was a time that somebody needed to break that dark, it had to be Newcastle and around this material time. I've looked at Liverpool. I looked at them against Chelsea. I looked at them over the weekend against Bournemouth. Yes, I mean, don't let the scoreline deceive you. Eventually, they had to go down by 10 men playing against Bournemouth, but had to rally. Jota had to get that 3rd goal in there. I think that Liverpool still have issues in the middle. And if you look at Newcastle, they have one of the most solid defenses. I mean, to go to the Etihad and just concede a goal, yes, they lost, but that will be a feather in your cap, because not so many teams go to the Etihad and are able to come away with just a goal and minus 3 points. So Newcastle are a team that understands the nuances of defending. I mean, when it comes to defending their cause. So I think that in the middle, Newcastle are stronger. I look at the Liverpool team, they look good on paper, but there's no cohesion. I think Liverpool this far have not come up against a team that is well knit, that is playing well together, and that understands where they want to go. Against Chelsea, I mean, that was a chaotic Chelsea team. Against Bournemouth have always had Liverpool to be their boogie side. So I think that on the basis of everything that is materially available, if there was a time to break that losing sequence, it couldn't have come at a better time than now.
Now with this Newcastle team, just like you were talking about them, you see they are a team that has been acquired by the Saudis, and just like these projects, these Arabs started. Chelsea started big. They came with the biggest of coach, with the biggest of players. PSG did same. Manchester City started with players, but Newcastle last season after the acquisition, they started on the low, just bringing in Isaac, just bringing in Guamares, just bringing in these few players, integrating them. And like you said, Eddie Howe did a very fantastic. He just pinpoints the place that a player is needed, fortifies the place. So now he was able to bring Joelinton from attack into midfield. Now there is Tonali, there is Bruno Guamares. Now even if you have Isaac coming off from the bench, you have Callum Wilson, who is well and able. If they want to buy any player, like you said, they can't do that. And you watch the match against City, the 1-0 was not even a fair reflection because they had chances, they spawned. If they had really, really taken their chances, they could have taken the game to City. So for me, Newcastle's last game was not really a fair reflection of how Newcastle has been. Now, to Liverpool, that is where our conversation is going to go. They lost Caicedo, they lost Lavia, and they brought in Endo. He said the Android version of Enzo Fernandez. He was brought into the fold. Now, Liverpool did not start Endo. He actually started from the bench. So they still went with their choice. So it means that the team that started still did not have a natural defensive midfielder, because McAllister, of course, his red card has been revoked, so he would play. McAllister and Djibril are not defensive midfielders. They would want to move forward. Now, you look at Liverpool. My question is, Endo, is it Wataru, Endo? Do you think that he is going to be the fix for Liverpool's defensive woes? That is defensive midfield, because now there's no Fabinho and there is also no Jordan Henderson. Now the issue they face with Chelsea, and even with the last game, the way you had Bournemouth scoring the goal, you realize that it was still a defensive midfield blunder. When Endo fix that issue, or you think Liverpool still need to go for a defensive midfielder to make up for that defensive midfield role?
Like, I think that, I mean, recently I read an article on the Athletic that there's a reason why these days deep line midfielders have become so expensive, or deep line destroyers in the middle have become so expensive. I mean, if you look at almost all of the elite teams in Europe now, they have a sort of a player who is able to sit at the base of the midfield and dictate play. I mean, not just be a destroyer, but to dictate play. To match the energies in the center of the pack. I think that nobody can convince me that the signing of Endo was not an afterthought. I mean, the point is simple. Liverpool did not go about their transfer business the right way. I mean, there's news emerging that when they had agreed a fee with Brighton, that is when Jurgen Klopp started conversations with Caicedo.
Yeah.
And he made it known to Klopp from the very onset that his mind was set on joining Chelsea. So you look at how Liverpool have gone about their transfer business. I mean, in the past, I mean, when Michaels was the sporting director, they would go about their business smoothly. But now, particularly in this transfer, they've not gone about their business so well. And I think that it's left them to grasp the scraps. That's how I want to put it. Because if you look at Liverpool, ordinarily you will not be banging all of your season and your hopes on an endo, a 31-year-old Japanese.
Yeah, you allow a
who would-
31 to
yes,
go, a 31 to
exactly. So a 31-year-old Japanese who would want to come into the league and then settle down. We've all known the history with some of these Asian players and their acclimatization to the EPL.
Yeah.
A lot of them have not gone too well, especially when you have to play in that role. This is a guy who was playing in Germany. We would have to look at the profile of football in Germany vis-a-vis the role of the defensive midfielder in the EPL. Two different roles altogether, because German football is so technical, it's not too pacey, it's not too much reliant on strength. But the reverse is so true in the EPL. So these are the issues that Liverpool need to deal with. But I think that maybe eventually they will come to a compromise. I mean, they would have to make do with what they have. They would have to acknowledge that most of their major targets had to let them go by. But I mean, there's a cliche that goals win games. In the past, I mean, Liverpool had a deadly front trio. I mean, Firmino, Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane. Now you look at
They had
Liverpool.
Origi coming from the
you had
bench.
Jota coming from the bench. At a point, you had Diaz joining
Yeah.
them. Now you look at the attack of Liverpool, and you want to juxtapose it with the attack of Newcastle.
Yeah.
Which one looks very palatable on paper, and which one do you think eventually might go on to carry the day on paper?
But obviously, Liverpool may have their frailties, but it doesn't change the fact that Liverpool is having one of the best attacks in Europe. There is still Salah. There is still my man. I said the second season he does it. Dashing man is there. Nunes, Dashing man. He will come
Nunes will
good.
not go.
Dashing man is there. Diaz, he scored a fantastic goal. He's there. There is Jota. I think Gakpo can also equally score. So for me, if I'm to predict, it's going to be a high-scoring game. Seriously, it's going to be, because Liverpool's defense is not. It is one area they forgot to look at. They were so fixated on the defensive midfield, forgetting that our man Van Dijk is out. And so for me, if I'm to predict, funny enough, it would be a high-scoring game, but Liverpool will carry the day. Maybe a 3-2. That's for me.
Well, we'll leave the conversation out there to you guys.
You haven't predicted.
Everybody knows where I stand. I mean, my point is simple. If there was ever a time to break that dark, it had to be now. There are too many clues in that particular statement. So everybody virtually knows where I stand. I am tipping Newcastle to be victors over the weekend, guys. So we are leaving the conversation to you. Newcastle versus Liverpool, who gets to win on Sunday? Please subscribe to our page and drop comments. Come to the comment sections, like the page, and let other people know what is good with Sports 101. Catch you some other time.